Let's go next to our caller from the 978 area code. Who's calling today from 978?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Who's this?
My name is Mark. I live in Framingham.
Great. And
Um,
Mark,
uh,
please just keep the phone. You're coming in shot out of a cannon, very, very hot. Just try to either talk a little more quietly or maybe keep the mouthpiece a little further from your mouth.
okay, is this better?
In some sense.
All right, all right. Well, first, I'd like to know what do you think makes Trump an anomaly? Because you've said that you think Trump is just uniquely bad. Considering that Bush invaded nations that we're still in after decades
Hmm.
against international law, even though the UN said there weren't weapons of mass destruction, how is Trump any more of a corrupt, evil gangster than Bush was? That's my first question.
So first, we have a sort of category error, which is it sounds like you're saying, let's apply the sort of foreign policy standards that we would apply to typical neocons to Donald Trump in order to evaluate them against each other. And what I would assert is that we're dealing with category differences. Donald Trump is bad in a way that is very different than how George W. Bush was bad. And of course, if you're looking for someone to defend George W. Bush, that's certainly not going to be me. We spent, the greater part of Bush's presidency pointing out all of the ways in which Bush was bad. Donald Trump is bad in a different way. And I'll give you one example that I think is relevant. George W. Bush's foreign policy is the disgusting neocon foreign policy of people like John Bolton and, Wolfowitz and Rumsfeld and so on and so forth. And that's absolutely horrible. But George W. Bush would not have screwed up coronavirus the way Donald Trump did. And this is not praise of Bush. And Bush, it was a disaster on Katrina, mostly for different reasons. But even someone as uniquely horrible as Bush from the foreign policy perspective would not have messed this up in the way that Donald Trump did. George W. Bush made the wrong foreign policy decisions with Iraq, but he didn't ruin so many of our longstanding alliances and get the United States to be essentially ignored in large swaths of the global decisions that have to be made. So I just think that there's a category difference. The ways in which I criticize Bush are different fundamentally than the ways in which Trump has been an embarrassing failure.
All right. But what do you? But don't you think that also the NSA and Patriot and the Patriot Act by Bush were also things that were also evil examples of domestic policy as well?
Yet both of those contained horrible provisions. Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, and my last question, which is just a total irrelevant to the first two. I know you're a big chess player.
Mm.
If someone were trying to get into chess, what resources do you think would be best for a beginner?
I would just go on YouTube and just Google chess for beginners, and you'll find hundreds of hours of simple videos just getting people introduced to the concepts. And then also leechess.org/practice has a bunch of free resources for just starting to learn the basics.
Okay, thank you, David. I enjoyed it.
All right, great. Appreciate the phone call. Thank you so much.